The target grammar for this lecture is except for and besides. In this lecture, we're focusing on two grammar structures, not because they are similar, but because they're pretty much the opposite of each other. So it's good to group them together and learn both at the same time. First of all, let's look at the meaning for except for. Let's read the example together. I've been to every continent on Earth except for Antarctica. That's next on my list. So we use except for to say that this is the only thing that isn't included in what I say. Except for basically means not including this. So in the example I just gave, I said that I've been to every single continent on Earth, not including Antarctica, except for Antarctica. So that means that I haven't been there yet. So we can use this to say that we did everything except for one or two things. So it's quite useful in that sense. Now let's look at the meaning for besides. Have a look at this example. Besides China and Japan, I visited Taiwan, Korea, and Thailand on my Asian travels. So what does besides mean? Besides means including or in addition to these things. So in the above statement, I am saying that I have been to China and Japan plus the other three countries mentioned, which are Taiwan, Korea, and Thailand. Besides means including or in addition to something. So you can see how these two grammar structures are pretty much opposite. Besides, the one we just went through, means in addition to. Except for means not including. So you can think of them as opposites. Except for, not including. Besides, including. So what we usually do is we give a list of something that we did. And with this list, we can add something or we can subtract something. If I want to add something to the list, I simply use besides. So besides this list, I did this and this. So I'm including more. If I want to take away from the list, I use except for. So I did all these things except for this and this. So try to think of it in those terms. Let's go through a few examples now. Here is the first one. Besides your parents and my dad, who's coming for dinner on Friday evening? In this example, the person is saying, I know your parents and my dad are coming to the dinner. So, besides them, who's coming for dinner? So it means, including them, who else is coming? Because I know they are coming. I want to know who else is coming. You see? So we can use besides like this. I know this is true, but what else is true? Okay? So including this, what else is true? Who else is coming? Have a look at this next example using except for. Everything about the trip was perfect, except for the weather. It was stormy for 2 out of the 3 days. This person went on a trip and they said that everything was perfect. But then they took away something. They subtracted from that whole, that meaning of perfection. Everything was perfect except for the weather. So they're taking something away from what they just said. Let's have a look at one more example now, using besides again. Besides looking extremely ugly, the construction of the new power plant will cause unimaginable amounts of pollution. This person is talking about the ugliness and the negative points of constructing a new power plant. So he said, besides looking ugly, so including this, it's going to look really ugly, it will also cause lots of pollution. So we often use besides like this to make a point, to say that this is true and this is also true. So we're building up our points, you see, so we can make an argument about something, whether it's good or bad. We can try to persuade using besides. It's a good construction for persuading someone. Now, time to move on to the structure for these 2 grammar points. I'll see you in the next lecture.